Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. ETF inflows still very, very positive and massive in size. I was gonna make a joke there, but I decided not to. 442 million for yesterday. That's on top of the 917 and 936 and the 400 and the 378 million. So you could see that's quite a lot. That's $3 billion within just the last 4 days alone. So you definitely have a lot of FOMO coming back into the market. This is kind of expected. I told you guys. A lot of people panic sold, and now a lot of people are panic buying back, FOMOing, right? But of course, there are many that did not fall for a trap, did not panic sell, right? And now we're in the mid 90s. But there were a lot that sold in the 70s and low 80s, and now they face a decision, should they buy back in the 90s? Some will probably do it, but now they're going to end up with less Bitcoin. So again, sometimes the best course of action, actually when it comes to Bitcoin, in most cases, if not all, the best course of action is just to hodl. That's it. Because if you give it long enough, Bitcoin will always come back and make a new high. It has proven, it always does that until we get proven otherwise, that it somehow does not get back to its previous high. I will assert that it will always do that. And, again, that's why panic selling does not help. Because those that sold low now have to buy back, and they end up with less Bitcoin. And, it's not good. Michael Saylor, I didn't even know this. Michael Saylor says banks are now free to support Bitcoin as Federal Reserve withdraws crypto guidance. I didn't know that there was a rule in the U.S. that required banks to report to the Federal Reserve if they wanted to get involved with crypto. It was like a special rule that the Fed implemented, but they just removed that recently. So this is very positive. So now banks are free to do whatever the hell they want. They pretty much do whatever the hell they want. They can operate and give out loans without any reserve requirements. Most people don't know that. They removed that requirement a few years ago, and I don't believe they ever put that back, at least not for the big banks. The smaller mid-tier banks and the smaller banks still have requirements, the 10% requirement. The larger banks don't even have reserve requirements anymore. It used to be you had to at least have 10%. Now it's 0%. You can give out whatever the hell you want. But now they get to support Bitcoin and crypto. So that's fantastic. It is, right? Maybe one day you'll be able to stroll into your favorite bank and say, I want to buy Bitcoin. And it'll happen. It'll happen. And I know all of them want to be your custodian. They would love to be your custodian. And maybe one day they want to be your custodian, but also give you interest. You know why? Because they want to hypothecate your Bitcoin and loan it out and make business with it. But then you want to say no to that, because that's what they do with your money. That's why they give you that little bit of interest on your money so they can loan it out, but you don't want to do that with your Bitcoin. But that's probably why they want to custody your Bitcoin, so they could do some kind of thing with it. You don't want to do that. You don't want to give them your Bitcoin. Okay, going back. Why is a breakout to 100,000 for Bitcoin near? A lot of charts indicate that. Here's one. Bull market support band. We had just broken above. weekly close above this level would be very good, and we're getting close to it. I forgot today is Friday. Today we have a large options and futures expiration, and the very fact that we're actually going up, we haven't seen much volatility so far today. We haven't seen a big dip. That is fantastic. I think futures expirations for CME comes in around 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think it's around there. Options expiration may be over already. I forgot the exact time because it is the last Friday of the month too. So it's a pretty significant Friday. So we may see a big movement right afterwards. But this is looking good. And then also there's other charts predicting 100K by May, and there's many of them. Here's one. You have a double bottom breakout. Okay, that looks good. And then you have a bull pennant, and we're looking to break out of that. That looks good. You have a falling wedge breakout. That looks good. And you have a lot of liquidity around 100K. And that looks good. And a lot of shorts waiting to be liquidated. Right? Whatever you see a lot of shorts, like those short levels, right? They're waiting to be liquidated. They tend to be liquidated. And you see, it's a little bit hard to read, but all that up there around 100K right here, waiting to be liquidated. And then you got a lot more right here, probably like the 90, 98 level, 97, 98 level, waiting to be liquidated. Right around the corner. We're not that far off. We're close to 95. I mean, it's really like 5,000. That's only 5% move from here. It's not that big of a move. Metaplanet purchased another 145 Bitcoin. So now they hold 5,000. They're going nuts. They are going nuts. Not as nuts in MicroStrategy, but they are purchasing tens of millions. Seems like every few days now. So they are going absolutely bonkers for Bitcoin. Stateside here, we got another state that's getting very, very, very close to approving a Bitcoin reserve. This enables 10% of their public funds for Bitcoin allocations. So not only do we have a Bitcoin reserve for the entire nation, but we will have 30 plus states that will also soon have their own reserve. Just think about that. Something that has never, ever, ever happened in Bitcoin's history. First time. You guys are witnessing history. I mean, this has never happened before. In the future, you'll be able to tell whoever that you saw this happen firsthand. All right, what else is happening? What's coming? Well, the number of addresses depositing Bitcoin into the exchanges basically dropping off to near zero. We're at the same point at December 2016. That was like barely anything back then. Binance didn't even exist back then. Think about how early that was. Okay. Bottom line is there's very little amount of people out there right now that's left trying to sell their Bitcoin. The people that wanted to sell over the last few months, the panic sellers, okay, the deleveraged, the funds that wanted to deleverage, they did. So now there's just basically no one. There's like no one trying to send their Bitcoin to the exchanges, trying to sell. So that's a very good thing. We're getting to a point where this is what I mentioned, seller exhaustion, right? We saw it. We saw it happen when we hit the low 70s, high 70s, low 80s, right? We hung around there. The buying pressure from the long-term holders was pretty consistent, and we held. And now we have come back pretty strong, pretty quickly from those levels, just within, what, 4 days? It's been a wild 4 days, but it makes sense. And here's the thing. Long-term holders continue to load up, and not only the long-term holders, the whales. Okay. So if you read this correctly, the very top line is showing whales who hold over 10,000 Bitcoin. So if you're reading this correctly, the blue, actually the deep blue, is massive accumulation. The red actually is low accumulation. So if you read this correctly, who's accumulating the most right now? People with over 10,000 Bitcoin. They are loading up. The second group that is loading up the most is people that hold between 1 to 10,000 Bitcoin. So the ultra mega whales are the ones that are loading up, taking advantage of the dip. Because that's what they do. The smart money, the big money, they buy when there's blood in the streets, when there's panic. That's how they make money, right? And then the third group is between 100 to 1,000. And then the fourth is 10 to 100. So you can see the least accumulation groups is unfortunately the lowest ones, -1 Bitcoin and 1 to 10 Bitcoin. There's still some accumulation, but those are the smallest groups. But the large groups are the ones that have the most Bitcoin already. You can't let these guys have all the Bitcoin. You got to keep some for yourself.